Hello, good afternoon. This is Dan Leon, who is the director of Square Feet Architects, who are based in London. Dan, welcome and thank you for coming onto our podcast. It's nice to meet you. And if you can, please introduce yourself to our audience and let them know about who you are at the practice and so on and so forth, please.
Sure, yeah. I'm Daniel Leon, Square Feet Architects, which is 20 years old last year. So we've been operating in London for that time, one or two various centres. We're based by Marylebone Station as we speak in our office and art gallery, which I can talk about maybe in a bit as well, which
Yes, please.
we've diversified into. But we've also got a base in Manchester as well,
Okay.
which was last year's innovation. So we can come back to that too. We're a practice, small practice, like to think punching above our weight, doing all sorts of interesting projects, private residential, mixed use residential, education and community, and bits and pieces of commercial. It's a mixed range and keeps life interesting.
So after you mentioned 20 years old, how did Manchester come about last year then? You're based in London and around obviously the London area, then suddenly you go up north. So what happened there?
It's actually going home because that's where I'm from.
Okay.
So my potted CV is that I'm from Manchester and I studied in the Northwest as well. I studied in Liverpool and then went back and worked in Warrington and in Manchester and qualified there. So I did a good stint there, know that really well. And then went off to work in Australia before the 2000 Olympics and worked on some interesting Olympic projects out there, actually.
Yeah, I saw that from your bio. Yeah, really interesting stuff.
Worked there for a couple of years and then came back and decided to move to London, see if it really is paved with gold. Then I've been here ever since. I haven't quite got around to leaving yet. So Manchester's a place where I've done bits and pieces of work in, but I've also been always keen to sort of open an office and set up a base. And there's opportunities have arisen there, inquiries. So it's a matter of expanding that, servicing some clients that we've got there, and widening the net. It's an interesting place. There's lots going on up there, so very, very pleased to be starting out there.
So how is the kind of team dynamics at the moment? And you're made up of yourself and who else? Who does the business comprise of?
So we've got two or three other key members here who head up for this sort of the business. There's myself, the sole director, owner of the business. Then I've got a partner, Neil, who I've worked with for quite a long time, and he's a few clicks older than me, and he knows what he's doing, which is great. And so he sort of manages technical side and design side of projects. Also, my colleague Angela, with whom we worked together for about 15 plus years. We actually knew each other as teenagers in Manchester. Neil's also a Mancunian. And Angela's a Mancunian, so we're expat Mancs in London at the moment, and have gone home. So Angela heads up our Square Feet Home sort of sub business or sister business, which is smaller residential, let's say small works residential projects, of which she project manages. She's not an architect, but she handholds clients through the process of delivering beautiful new homes. So we've got that, and then we've got one or two other people, including Sheila, who's our head of interiors, and then a few other sort of junior architects around who support and deliver. So it's a good team, and we do some interesting projects.
Well, yeah, you mentioned, most practices I speak to will either be, residential specialists, whether it be, new build, extensions, whatever. But you've mentioned already, education projects and a few other things as well. So you tend to lend your hand to anything, is that right? With your experience of your colleagues?
I think as you say, lots of architects do, if you like, specialise, and I think there's a place for that. But in lots of ways, buildings are buildings, and of course the functionality and complexities of the intricacies of how they run and operate, obviously with more specialist buildings. I think we like to we've spread our net. We know homes. We love working with people and their homes and making great homes for people. So we know that, but we also know sort of education and community projects as well. It keeps life interesting for us. It's not all eggs in one basket as far as sort of sectors and markets and all those sorts of things are concerned. and it cross-fertilizes sometimes as well. So it might well be that there is a community project, and for whatever reason, they might have a little bit of land to the side of their community building, which is redundant, and we build a block of flats on that in order to fund the refurbishment of the community building, that sort of thing. So it can work hand in glove really well.
Yeah. And how are you winning new projects at the moment? A lot of practices are word of mouth. Of course, you've moved into a new, relatively new geographical space. That's come from word of mouth as well, I presume, and from you being Mancunian born and bred. Is that?
Yeah, it's the old method, I think, of shoe leather and being out there, getting people to know what you do, and that you're a skilled and a sound and a trustworthy kind of person, and that you're appointing a design team to build the buildings. It's a costly affair for clients, and they want to make sure that they're not going to get let down. And they're going to deal with sound people who aren't going to do them over or let them down. And so, that's what I think. We've got a track record of doing that. We're as good as our word and as good as our last project to a certain extent. So you have to just keep delivering, keep performing, keep being honest, keep being responsive. We're very, very much aware that we're in a service industry, and so one little sort of rule in the office is you've got to return clients' call that day. It's not very complicated, but you're providing a service. So we get work from word of mouth. We get work. We're doing the usual marketing activities in terms of keeping our website up to date and bits and pieces of social networking. You've got to keep the plate spinning.
Well, one thing that's very apparent from the talking of socials and what have you, you certainly stand alone from others, shall we say, in regard to the level of content you're providing on LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you very kindly share your work with us in our magazine as well. And I can see, because of the traction that gains, there is definitely a direct correlation to you doing your own stuff on your socials as well. Some let it fall by the wayside, but I firmly believe now, although I'm a slightly older bloke and the younger generation are all over this sort of stuff, I really believe that it needs to become almost part of your daily routine. Just chuck some stuff out on the socials. It's crucial, really.
Well, it hasn't come that easily to me, but nevertheless, I've become, relatively au fait with it, and we'll walk around with these computers in our pockets, and access to be able to post things easily. And it's a matter of being organized in terms of having the content at hand. So we do spend a bit of time working on that, making sure that there are decent photos, we've got some text ready, and if you kind of set up, it's not actually that difficult or complicated or painful. And I think honestly, it's a sort of a crowded marketplace, and you have to do what's necessary to stand out, and do what you can do.
When we first came on the call, you mentioned is it a new project, I presume, but the art studio side of the business as well.
So we've been in our office here for about 5 or 6 years, and we're on. It's an old shop. It was an old bookshop once upon a time, and selling books isn't what it used to be, apparently. So anyway, we took over this bookshop. And we've got a shop on the ground floor nearby Marylebone Station. And a few years ago, I picked up paintbrushes for the first time myself, and had a few exhibitions and met artists and rubbing shoulders with artists and photographers and whatever else. And we run a sort of monthly series of exhibitions of new and upcoming artists. We've got an exhibition on at the moment here, a painter called Wendy Freestone. You can see the background here. And it's an interesting way to, we use this room, our ground floor shop, as a meeting room. Whilst the art's on the wall, it keeps the room fresh. We clear the meeting table out of the space, and we have private views here, 40, 50 people, glasses of fizz and chatting. It's nice, and it's a soft way. And this gallery is called Square Feet Space Gallery, so It has square feet in the title still. And it's a soft way of marketing without saying we're architects. And it says Square Feet, and we have other creatives over the doorstep with whom we enjoy rubbing shoulders with. We're all about sort of collaboration and meeting new people in a friendly environment. And this gallery is a way of doing that. It's a different way to talk about ourselves in a soft and a tangential way, I suppose.
Well, you are marketing in a textbook manner, quite frankly, aren't you? Because you're not selling. Marketing is not about selling. Years ago, people used sell, wouldn't they, and try and shove things down your throat they don't necessarily want. So it's you're doing everything correctly and letting everybody subtly know about your other business interests at the same time.
So, and apart from anything else, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Apart from just doing brickwork detailing or whatever it might be, where we can discuss about whether we should hang a picture at this level or that level. It's kind of fun.
And what's the plans now then for the near to medium future? Do you look to grow Manchester more? Are you going to move yourself and your family back to Manchester, or what do you?
That's in discussions with the wife at the moment.
Yeah.
But
What, is she from Manchester as well, or?
no, she's not. She's not. So we will see about that. Watch this space. I think in terms of we're working on projects which are there and here, and we've got one or two international projects which are potentially coming down the tracks as well, which hopefully I'll be able to tell you about one day. A new sort of arts and music building at an international school somewhere. So that's coming about. Well, I don't know. It's as I say. I've been running practice for 20 years, and I think it's important to keep things moving, keep things fresh for my own sake. Because if I just did the same old, I'd probably get pretty bored and probably wouldn't be very good at what I do. So I think it's important to, and it's a changing world as well.
Absolutely.
I'm you could read the Doom articles about that will all be redundant in a few years' time and working for AI, or else, it's a matter of adapting, and I think that's what one has to do. And I think that's the benefit of having a small practice as well, that you can adapt. I know friends and big practices who can make the ability to make change is less easy.
Absolutely. Each, small practice, large businesses, they all have their pros and cons, don't they? Very much so. But you can move quite much quicker and adapt far easier than the big practice can that's got two and.
Sure. And and it's all about collaboration. So as I say, we're sort of collaborating with all sorts of people at the moment, including a friend architect who's based in Paris, and a next door neighbour who's a designer, a graphic designer, next door neighbour at our office. So I think by doing that, you forge, almost bespoke partnerships for projects. And can bring something better. So be it the necessity to bring someone else with a stronger language skill than I might have for that international project, or other specialist skills. I think, and it's always nice to meet new people, and as long as everyone's open-minded and grown up about these sorts of relationships, then it's great.
Well, the key thing here is in 6 months down the line, when these things progress for you and you've got this international project and other things in the fore, then let's get you back on to talk to the audience again about how, a review of how the last 6 months has been.
Sure. I'm sure wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. I've no doubt. Well, look, it's brilliant to hear about everything that you've done, your history, where you look to go in the future, and to introduce your business to our audience. So look, thank you very much for coming on and talking about your business, and we'll look forward. We'll do again. We'll repeat this again in the summertime and see how things have gone for you.